Good morning, everyone. We are here today for COVID-19 Memorial Day of Remembrance for all those that we lost to COVID-19. I am joined today by Council President Nick Mosby, Council Vice President Sharon Middleton, our Comptroller Bill Henry, Council members, I'm going to call them as I see them, Porter, Stokes, Dorsey, Ramos, Scheifler. Today we're also joined by Jill Yesko from Flower Hearts Project, who lost her mother to COVID-19, unfortunately. All right. Good morning, everyone in Baltimore. We are here this morning to officially commemorate COVID-19 Memorial Day of Remembrance here in Baltimore. This past year has been nothing short of difficult, challenging, and at times mournful and depressing. This pandemic has impacted every single person in our city, in our nation, in some shape or form. Despite the challenges, we have also shown our collective strength and our ability to pull together and support those around us, our loved ones, and our families. We have weathered a pandemic that has gone on much longer than any of us originally anticipated. And while we are hopeful about the rollout of the vaccine and what that will mean for our ability to share space together again and keep our neighbors and loved ones alive and also hug people, we continue to lose people. This collective grief can at times be immense, which is why we are taking time this morning to mourn and hold space for the Baltimoreans we have lost to COVID-19 and the many family, friends, and neighbors that have been impacted by that loss. Those of us not directly impacted by COVID-19 have certainly been impacted by the pandemic indirectly. It has made it difficult to properly mourn the loss of a loved one, to be beside a loved one in the hospital, and to spend cherished moments together. I experienced that late last year with the death of my grandmother, who did not die from COVID, but who I could not physically be with towards the end of her life due to COVID-19 precautions. By our most recent count, there have been a total of 40,355 cases of COVID-19. We have lost 797 Baltimoreans to the virus. And that's not just a number. Those are family members, friends, loved ones, and so much more that we will never forget and always remember. And although they are no longer here with us physically, their spirits, their memories will live on forever. And we will have to and we will honor them each and every day. And at this time, I would like to read a mayoral proclamation for this day. This one. Here it is. Proclamation, Brandon Scott, Mayor. COVID-19 Victims and Survivors Memorial Day, March 1st, 2021. Whereas more than 2.5 million people worldwide and 500,000 people in the United States have lost their lives due to COVID-19. And in Baltimore City alone, more than 800 lives have been lost to this deadly virus. And whereas to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, observance of public health orders to socially distance and stay at home have created challenges for small businesses, workers, and schools that are working to comply with limited resources. And whereas school districts, teachers, students, and parents are grappling with the challenge of distance learning and working to prevent any potential learning loss due to not being in person, and whereas local and state governments, health departments, and public servants have taken bold actions to protect residents, support struggling local economies, and find innovative ways to provide services. And whereas in response to the rapid spread of COVID-19 and stay-at-home orders, essential workers have stepped up to provide critical services to help protect our communities and save lives, sacrificing their own health and safety. And whereas COVID-19 has had a disproportionate impact on low-income communities and communities of color, exacerbating inequities already prevalent in our systems that we must address as a nation, and whereas each life lost to COVID-19 matter and leaves a hole in the hearts of loved ones, family members, and surrounding community. And whereas public health guidance and policies targeted at prevention, such as social distancing, wearing masks in public, and staying home, help mitigate the spread of COVID-19, prevent illness, and lessen the burden on individuals and society. Therefore, I, Brandon M. Scott, Mayor of the City of Baltimore, do hereby proclaim March 1st, 2021 as COVID-19 Victims and Survivors Memorial Day in Baltimore in remembrance of those who have lost their lives and in honor of those who continue to suffer from the impact of the virus. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set the great seal of the City of Baltimore to be affixed this first day of March 2021. And now we will hear from Dr. Jaraza, followed by our Council President, Nick Mosby.
Good morning, and thank you, Mayor Scott, for your leadership. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Council President Mosby, Council Vice President Middleton, Comptroller Henry, and the esteemed council members that are here today for their support. There are truly no words to describe how this past year has impacted so many families. We've lost neighbors, friends, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, children, and so much more. My words of condolences are not enough to fill the void that so many have experienced after the loss of a loved one to such a devastating disease. So instead, I share my commitment to continue working under Mayor Scott's leadership and alongside our healthcare partners to ensure equitable vaccination for city residents, especially those communities that have been most devastated by COVID-19. This past year has forever changed our lives, and my prayer is that 2021 would bring you and your families hope as well as peace in the future. Thank you.
Today I stand thanking Mayor Scott for his leadership of forcing the city to slow down and reflect on what's taking place over the past year. I stand thanking our amazing health commissioner for her presence in this fight, throughout this entire fight, and ensuring that we counter this virus as best as possible. When you look at Baltimore City's numbers in comparison to a like-sized city, I'll never forget, Madam Health Commissioner, when the national cameras were pointing on Baltimore last year in April and May and June of last year, saying Baltimore was going to be the next wave. And it was through your leadership that you were able to get those cameras to point other places, because Baltimore did so well during those trying times. But with all this effort, we as your council stand here committed in this fight to support our mayor, to support our health commissioner. But we cannot understand and know that this has been nothing short of devastating. We've lost 797 Baltimoreans to this disease. We've crippled tens of thousands of husbands, wives, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents because of this disease. And we have not hit rock bottom. This disease is still prevalent, and until we're able to provide the life-saving vaccinations, particularly to our most vulnerable Baltimore City residents, this disease will still stay prevalent. And that's why we're here today. That's why I'm so thankful for the leadership of Mayor Scott today, because today is a day that we reflect on the 797 lives lost. But this is also a day that we reflect on what we must continue to do as a city to protect the residents of our great city. We will never, ever forget this time. This is a time not just that we are in a crisis as it relates to physical health. Baltimore, we understand and know we are just as much in a crisis as it relates to mental health because of COVID-19. When we talk about the seclusion of our older adults, when we talk about the lack of social and emotional connectivity of our children, or when we talk about the mental health strain that has placed and has exacerbated on behavioral health in the city, We are not at the end, and we will need transformative, committed partnership across the board to counteract and fight this. Again, I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership, your continued leadership. Understand and know that the Baltimore City Council will be with you step by step and partnering with you. Today, the City Council of Baltimore resolution be it hereby known to all that the City Council of Baltimore offers its sincerest appreciation to the amazing project in the Floral Heart Project in recognition of the love and support to the families and the loved ones that have lost to COVID-19. The entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution to be presented this first day of March 2021.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd now like to ask Jill Yesko to share her experience and talk about the significance of the Floral Heart Project, which she is helping to bring to Baltimore. Jill?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of all of us who have lost a loved one to COVID-19 and have been struggling with grief in isolation, I want to thank Mayor Scott, members of the City Council, Dr. Jaraza, and other officials for this very public acknowledgement of our loss and our pain. My brother and I lost our mother to COVID in July. We were unable to be with her for many months. She was isolated. She was struggling with the disease, and we had to say goodbye to her over the phone. And it was heartbreaking, and that is a pain that will stay with me for a very, very, very long time. As a member of the community of mourners grieving the more than 500,000 Americans who have died from COVID so far, I urge everyone to take this pandemic seriously. Wear your mask, get your vaccine, follow the rules. Please protect yourself, your friends, your families, your neighbors. Because this club, this community of those of us who have lost our loved ones under terrible circumstances is not a club that any of us ever wanted to be a member of. May the memory of our loved ones forever be a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. We appreciate your courage in sharing your experience on this day. I would like to present you and the Floral Heart Project with the following citation. A certificate of recognition. On behalf of the citizens of Baltimore, I am pleased to present this certificate to the Floral Heart Project in recognition of Baltimore's commemoration of the Floral Heart Project, an ongoing effort by artist Christina Libby to help provide healing, compassion, and sympathy for those impacted by COVID-19. Across the nation today, hundreds of volunteers will lay floral hearts in their communities to recognize the losses associated with the pandemic. On behalf of the citizens of Baltimore, I commend you for your compassionate efforts to recognize those that we've lost and support grieving survivors. Signed by myself, Mayor Brandon Scott, March 1st, 2021. And at this time, I'll invite Councilman Stokes to the mic to share his City Council resolution. Councilman Stokes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, Dr. DeRosa, I want to congratulate you for staying fast with this COVID-19, but most important, we want to thank the residents of Baltimore City who wore their masks and social distance. That's why those numbers have dropped so significantly here in Baltimore City. And I have a resolution. I will read part of it, but I'd like for my colleagues to read part of it also because they were co-sponsors of it. It says a city council resolution concerning COVID-19 victims and survivors Memorial Day. Whereas COVID-19 has spread across the world, created a global pandemic that's having effects on human life, our community, and our economy. Whereas local and state governments, health departments, and public servants have taken bold actions to protect residents, support struggling local economies, and find innovative ways to provide services. Whereas in response to rapid spread of COVID-19 and stay-at-home orders, essential workers have stepped up to provide critical services to help protect our communities and save lives, sacrificing their own health and safety. Any other?
Thank you, sir. Whereas COVID-19 has had a disproportionate impact on low-income communities and communities of color, exacerbating inequities already prevalent in our systems that we must address as a nation. Whereas public health guidance and policies targeted at prevention, such as social distancing, mask wearing in public, and staying home, mitigate the spread of 19, prevent illness, and lessen the burden on individuals and society. Whereas the symptoms and severity of COVID-19 can vary dramatically by individual, and the long-term health implications for survivors is largely unknown, as many survivors suffer with lingering side effects of the disease long after they no longer test positive.
Whereas more than 2.3 million people worldwide, 463,000 people in the United States, and 700 people in Baltimore City have lost their lives due to COVID-19. And whereas each life lost to COVID mattered and leaves a hole in the hearts of loved ones, family members, and the surrounding community. Anybody else? Okay. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Baltimore that the City Council declares the first Monday in March COVID-19 Victims and Survivors Memorial Day.
Thank you, council members. In just a moment, we're going to turn it over to other members of the council, but first we want to honor a moment of silence for all of those that we've lost here in Baltimore and across the world to COVID-19. Thank you. First, I'd like to invite up Council Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council President Mosby, and all of my colleagues, and our wonderful, hardworking Health Commissioner. We have prayed at every single council meeting and had a moment of silence since the start of this pandemic, and we will continue as we get through this. It has not been easy. It has not been easy for our city, but we are all together as colleagues. We're strong leaders, and we are helping people in every single district. But we definitely need continued help from our state. We are still one of the largest urban cities in this country. And we just need continued help from our state government. We need communication with each one of us. It has been mentioned that we have transport. Remember, we're an urban city that have lots of issues and struggles. And if it wasn't for our mayor that with his continued efforts and our council president for the things that they continue to do, who knows where we would be. We have to keep that communication going. And this is a plea and an ask from our governor, Governor Hogan. We need transportation. We are where the rubber meets the road. We need continued help. We need help. And I can't say that enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for putting this together today. And thank you to the Floral Heart Society and to the great work of our health commissioner and health department. I don't want to take long. I just, as we took a moment of silence a moment ago, it occurred to me that was about 25 seconds. That's about 1 second for every 20,000 Americans whose lives have been lost to COVID-19. We've lost a number of Americans equivalent to the entire adult population of Baltimore City. And so as we remember them today, I can't help but consider the enormity of the scale of the loss of life and quality of life for those who have survived this, as well as the heartache of those who survived their lost loved ones. And I just want to thank everybody for being here today, press included, everybody who is an integral part of us sharing the message that it will be a long recovery in our hearts from the loss that we experienced over the last year and will continue to experience in the year ahead. Thank you.
Good morning. It's important for all of us to have this opportunity to pause and take time and reflect on this past year and mourn the lives lost to COVID-19. I want to thank 5th District resident Jill Yesko for bringing this idea to the City Council and working with all of us and the Mayor's office to put this important memorial together. May you and the entire city find comfort in the happy times we've all had with our friends and family who are no longer with us, and may their memory be a blessing.
Good morning again. In my weekly video, I asked our 14th District constituents to reflect. Today is a day of reflection upon who we've lost, mourning who we've lost, but also reflecting on what is to come and making sure that we stand steadfast, ready to recover as we move forward, but also understanding that we need to, be respectful that this has happened to a lot of people, and that those who got the disease but didn't fall to it still are in pain. There's a lot that comes out of this disease. So I hope that everyone takes a moment to reflect, and I am thankful for this moment to do that, but to also, again, recommit that we need to come out of this strong, that we need to work together to get everyone vaccinated. And I'm honored to have our District 14 vaccine work group working together to make sure that everybody in our district gets vaccinated. But today is a day of reflection, and I want to honor all of my constituents who we've lost and the constituents who've lost loved ones. Today we think of you and we pray for you, but we look forward to the future where we can work together and we can be together again. Thank you.
So good morning again. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, and all my colleagues on the council for remembering those that have succumbed to COVID-19. I just want to further reflect. Not only will this be a long recovery in the city of Baltimore, we are talking about one of the worst health pandemics of our time. 798 people took their last breath because of COVID-19. Not only are we going to have to remember not only them as survivors, but I want to also further remember their families as well. They will forever have to go through this tragedy, remembering it over and over and over again till we come out of this pandemic. And so I just want to further cement that not only is this, a pandemic that we're individually going through. This is something that we collectively in Baltimore are going through together. We're going through together with the nation as well and the rest of the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here.